All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're out in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Beyond the Rim. I'm your host, Sensei, once again, coming to you live to report on all things WNBA and all news. Got my two special co-hosts with me, Megan and Mike. How are you guys doing today?
Doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Mike, are you okay over there?
Texas.
Okay, Texas repping. I like it.
Wings.
You all right, Mike? You good?
I'm fine. You just died for a second.
Yeah,
Got
you
choked
were
up.
confident. Yeah, I was concerned.
Right.
I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, so last week we covered the Eastern Conference of the WNBA as we are on the heels of the WNBA season starting. So this week we're going to cover the Western Conference in the WNBA for this particular season. We're going to talk about everything that's going on with each team, where we see them in and up. Because I mean, honestly, the West is loaded. The West is stacked. Everybody in the West could possibly win the championship. So I said
Not
possibly,
LA.
Mike. I said
Not
possibly,
LA.
Mike. LA might. LA's got some time, but we'll get there. So first, but for and foremost, we might as well, since we got Megan on the show, talk about the Dallas Wings. You see, she got the Texas shirt on, and she got the colors. She's out there repping, of course, repping her Wings. So what do we think about some of the moves that the Wings have made, how they drafted, as well as, obviously Erika Wnba is still there. She's obviously the leader of that team. So what are the predictions? What do you think that they're going to end up? Are they going to make a playoff push this year? Like what are we thinking?
Well, we made the playoffs last year, but we made the single elimination round, and the reigning and defending champs put us out. So there's a little solace in that, because it wasn't just anybody that put us out; it was the best team that put us out.
Right.
I think we were like Indiana about four years ago. We're like Indiana today. Like, we were in the middle of a rebuild. We got rid of Liz Cambage. We got rid of Skylar Diggins-Smith, and we just literally had to start from nothing. And I think we did right. We built around Enrique. We also picked up Tierra McCowan from Indiana. And then we drafted Veronica Burton from Northwestern. And she's a 3-time Big Ten defensive player. So I think that she's going to be another floor general for us, along with Enrique. But I like the rotations with that. I think they'll be able to switch between PG and shooting guard. So we'll see them both, I think. And when I talked to Vicki Johnson, her comment about Veronica was that they drafted her with the intent that she could fit into their defensive scheme as is. Like, she already fit their program. They didn't have to cater to her. Like, she already fit with them. So I expect a 500 season. That's my expectations. And for me to feel like it's a success, I want to see us go to the second round. I know it is just preseason, but we're averaging 96.4 points a game right now. So we put up triple digits on Indiana, but Indiana going through growing pains. So I want to see us in the regular season. I want to see us against a team like Chicago. I want to see us against the Aces. I want to see us against Phoenix. And then I'll be able to tell you better off where I feel like what our record's going to end with. But I see us at 500. Second round of the
nice. What you thinking, Mike?
I mean, she don't want to see us. That's all right, though. No one wants to see us. But I just wanted to ask Megan first, like, Jazz Bond, drafted 31st overall, took Wade at training camp. How did you feel about that? Was that just one of those things where you kind of expected it, or did you kind of see her finding her way in the team?
I'm not too surprised by that, because with the draft picks that we had, I felt like, and with what the president said, Greg Bibb, he said that, that he really felt like the crew that we had at that point in time before we even drafted was comfortable with us going to the playoffs. So I feel like that was something that drafting wasn't super important to them, except for the first round, that first pick that we took. So I'm not too surprised. I was a little surprised by Chelsea Dungy getting released. Like Chelsea Dungy, she was in our first round last year, and I felt like she fit pretty well with the team, but not too surprised either because Veronica's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be a solid squad. I think anything's better. Respectfully, Megan, anything's better than 14 and 18. Especially when you don't have a lot of losses. I mean, Bella was one of their biggest losses, and it really wasn't. It wasn't huge to the point to where it's like, man, this is gonna take us back another couple of years. But I think with the additions that they've made, it's really exciting to me. They made a couple good re-signings too. I always forget how to pronounce her name. Arik.
Enrique.
It's Enrique, and I never want to say Enrique, yeah. I always hear people say different stuff, so I'm always like, I don't know. I want to hear her say it, and then I'll be cool. But it's definitely one of those things where I feel like they could surprise a lot of people. But I think health is honestly a big part of it because you gotta be able to develop, and I think a lot of them need that time to develop right now. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for them. Obviously they got some big steppers in their way right now. Big steppers, like you got Phoenix, like other people. Brianna Stewart's still doing her thing, and she's pissed off right now. So that's gonna be that's a demon in the making.
Right.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite of what I needed right now is a pissed off Brianna Stewart. And then you still have the Brittany Griner thing where Brittany Griner at any point in time can't come back. Hoping that she gets back soon. But it's definitely a conversation that the West is very, very deep. And they're all fighting for second place right now once they have to play the Sky in the finals. So
I like how you slid that in there. I like how
it's definitely something that I think Dallas can accomplish. I think Western Conference Finals isn't out of the conversation for them. I think it would just
dig that.
It would just be one of those things where I think of them the same way I think about the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're very young. I think they could be a year away, or they could shock the world and end up there anyways.
Yeah, I think the Dallas Wings go as Enrique goes, and I think they had a lot of growing pains last season with the 14 and 18 season, but like Megan said, they were still able to make the playoffs. Right. I would like to see a step up, a little bit more progression as far as the Wings go, because it kind of feels like they just kind of been on this incline, like I'm just kind of on this steady line for like the past 2 years. So I want to see them like tread up a little bit. I want to see them actually compete with some of the top teams, which I mean, that's asking a lot, because like we all said, or we all alluded to, the West is loaded. Like any team could come out of the West at this particular point because it's so stacked from top to bottom. So, but I definitely want to see them get in there and compete. I do feel like they're still a relatively young team though as well. So they, definitely still got some room to grow. But I want to see Enrique step up her leadership a little bit this year. Yeah. I think that's like the one major piece right now that's missing from her game. It's just sometimes she kind of just fades in the background a little too much. You know what I'm saying? Like when things when things kind of get rocky and get tough, she doesn't really she doesn't hit the gas and be like, okay, like let's rev it back up. Let's get back to what got us being successful in the first place. So I want to see her to take that next step into leadership for that team, because I think she's more than capable. I mean, she clearly has the talent. Right. Like she's one of the most talented guards that we have in the league right now. But yeah, like I said, I think the success of that team goes as she goes. I'll ask this before we move on to the next team. Do you feel like that? And Megan, I'll address this to you. Do you feel like that Dallas is still maybe like a player or two away to like be a serious contender? Like, is there a piece or two that they're missing? Maybe like a veteran savvy person coming off the bench, or another star to pair with Enrique or
Brianna Stewart.
Actually, no. That would be tough. And I do see Brianna moving next year. We'll get to that when we get to them. But actually, no, I think us picking up Tierra is going to be a huge difference right there. And then I think also us drafting Veronica, like that's going to bring that defense that Vicki Johnson is known for. She's known for defense. So I think that's going to bring that whole system together right now. And I really did want a sharpshooter next to Enrique. That's what I wanted. Kirsten Bell. That's who I wanted in the draft, or I wanted Destiny Henderson. I wanted either one of those next to Enrique because I felt like that sharp shooting. But Veronica's a great shooter too. Now she's known for her defense, but she's absolutely she's a perimeter defender. Like she's an excellent defender, but you know, she has an excellent 3-point shot too. So I think once we get her in there and get a little development on that shooting, she can be that sharpshooter. And I think we're going to see her be a two-way player. And that's what I look forward to. So no, I don't think we're missing that. I think we were without Tierra, because as much as I like Charlie Collier, because UT to the day I die, Texas forever, but she's just not there yet. You know, her development, she's just not there yet. And Tierra is.
Okay, that's I just wanted to know that because I know.
Now Brianna wants to come to Texas. You know,
I mean, like I said, with her. Listen, if I don't know what her list of teams are looking like, but if she came with Enrique, boy. That would be nasty. But anyway, we'll go ahead and
Sky and four.
This guy.
Okay.
So moving on to one of my favorite teams out west, the Las Vegas Aces. They pretty much returning a little bit of everybody except for obviously the elephant in the room. Liz Cambage is no longer there anymore.
Thank God.
As well as I think they also drafted pretty well, but you know they were in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, they lost to Phoenix, and Asia Wilson was crushed after that game. But after the series, just after the series ended. But you know, like I said, they're returning pretty much everybody back. They picked up a couple people in the off season as far as through, you know, via trade or you know, just letting like pretty much a walk-on situation, like Sydney Colson is back. So what do we think about the Aces? What do we think about their chances? What do we think about Asia Wilson? Is she gonna tread up more and be back to maybe more MVP Asia Wilson? Like what do we project for the Las Vegas Aces?
You want to go first? You want me
Mike? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
You know, I don't do it often, but I've had a man crush on Kelsey Plum since I was like 15.
Oh man, she's a baller.
Yeah, she's a hooper, and she is
way past just her game. Her game's great too, but
you're such a man. You're such a man.
I gotta own it though. At least I owned it. I apologize.
Right? No, it's okay.
I'll rock with her.
It's all good. It's all good.
The day I die. So I'm thinking heavily on the Aces this year, but I do think they were just 1-2 teams away. You know, bringing in Becky Hammond, I think is pretty solid, and I think it's one of those things to where, you know, experience is really going to take you there. And someone that kind of understands the moment is going to be able to really just take it to that next level. And listen, KP, I don't care what nobody says. KP is one of my favorite players in the game. And I, in all seriousness, though, you know, they did lose a lot. You know, they lost Angel, they lost Liz Cambage, and they lost a bunch. And I know Angel didn't play last season, so like it is what it is. But it's definitely one of those things to where it's like it's still felt, and it's still that presence that isn't going to be there anymore. So you definitely have to have an understanding. You know, they lose Bill. Bill kind of, you know, you go to the Western Conference Finals, so it's definitely not that he wasn't good at what he did. But I just feel like, you know, they're in the right space with Becky right now, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be big. But they look solid. They look solid, and I think, you know, bringing back Wilson and bringing back Williams is going to be big. And they're kind of just trying to make up for Liz being gone. And I'm not the biggest personality fan of Liz. I think, you know, she has her moments where I'm just kind of like, you know, like you could just be cool. Just be cool, man. Like we can all just coexist, vibe out. But then Liz always has to say something or do something or look at somebody the wrong way. And it's kind of like, you know, you might even be able to go further just because she's gone without even really replacing her, because the team chemistry could be better. So that's no shot at Liz. Liz is a bucket. Don't get it twisted. But you know, sometimes you get certain people off the roster, and then it's a totally different dynamic. I mean, you look at Ben Simmons being gone in the NBA off of Philly, and Philly, even with James Harden not playing, didn't miss a beat. And it's just because that negative toxicness in the locker room is no longer there. And I got mad love for Liz, but I just think, you know, she has a lot of self I don't even know what the word would be, but she gotta check herself for a little bit.
Yeah, self-reflecting.
That was it. You know, I don't need to self-reflect because I'm perfect, so I didn't know.
Here you go.
I'm good. I'm kumbaya.
Kumbaya.
What do you think, Megan?
I think we're going to see Vegas have to go towards that small ball rotation. And so there's definitely going to be some issues with their center depth. They do have De'Erica Hamby, who she's not a center. She's kind of a forward center combo. She's only 6'3". So, but she's aggressive. And so, we'll definitely see her presence a little bit more, but kind of what Golden State is doing, I kind of expect to see out of Vegas because they have that high-powered guard situation going over there. So with their draft, they took Kirsten Bell 11th, and then 13th, they took Kayla Porter from LSU, and she's a guard as well. Both of those are high-powered guards. Everything that the Aces did automatically trends up to me once you add Becky Hammon to that situation. I mean, y'all know I'm a Spurs fan, and so I love Becky forever and always. And my thing about Becky is, she went undrafted. She's 5'6". Like the name that she made for herself in the league, like she just fought against all odds. And so I don't even think Bill Laimbeer left the Aces. I think he's in the front office. I could.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
So he's still going to be an integral part of that. Right. And I don't think. Yeah. I don't think that him giving the reins over to Becky. I don't think that is them losing Bill.
Downgrade.
No, I think Bill's kind of moving towards retirement.
That's where I was coming from with it. Is like it's not that he's physically gone, but he's just not on the court, and I feel like that's where like that step is going to be gone because he'll still be there, but in the moment, and not that Becky can't, but it's like whatever Bill might be able to say or draw up, that's the conversation of Bill's going to be up there in the press box, and you're not going to be able to go talk to him about it. So it's really about Becky.
I mean, she did learn under Popovich.
I
think Becky got it.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Is like, hey, but Megan, that's a whole conversation about how I feel about Pop.
Mr.
Hey, if you want to call him the greatest player development coach of all time, that's fine. But I don't know about greatest coach of all time. But
that's a conversation. That's a conversation to be had.
We're gonna keep it to the WNBA.
That's the conversation to be had.
I have said a lot of people. I don't want us to lose our viewers on my Greg Pop slander.
But I think one of the biggest pieces of the Aces that we're going to see this season, and when I covered her with Team USA, I was just so impressed with not only her personality and her willingness to talk to the media, but just what she did in reference to us getting that gold medal, and that's Chelsea Gray. And I think you got to put that title on her. We call her point guard, and I think that's you definitely. I think she's a better version of CP3 or of that nickname because she actually puts up way more points than CP3.
And she can pass her tail off.
Man, okay. And then a couple of weeks ago, we saw Cheryl Swoops talking to her, and she was just like, "I'm a fan of yours. The development ever since you came into the league, I've been watching you." And so I feel like
KP.
No, Chelsea Gray.
Chelsea Gray.
And so, and like Cheryl is my personal GOAT because I grew up in that area. I grew up in Lubbock, so I love. She may not be the greatest WNBA player, but she's my personal GOAT.
Right.
And
like mine is
just because,
fair.
Right. Well, like she grew up in a little town outside of Lubbock, and like we call them cotton gin towns. Like it's just relatable because I lived it, and so for her to make success out of that, it made the WNBA believable for those of us that were young at that time. So, but for someone like that to sit there, and we know Cheryl doesn't necessarily have the reputation of being the nicest person, and so for her to sit there and dap up Chelsea Gray and is like, "Man, I'm a huge fan of yours. I think she made a huge impact on Cheryl, and that speaks volumes." So I expect watch out for Chelsea Gray.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think the Aces are definitely looking towards going small ball because Becky did come from the Spurs, and that's something that the Spurs did really well was small ball. Also, their offense they're gonna be able to open up the floor a whole lot more because if I'm thinking of Becky Hammon in the coach and basketball mind that I'm thinking of, she's gonna teach them how to spread the ball, as far as just like I said, really moving the ball around and getting a great shot instead of a good shot, and doing a lot of screen and rolls, doing a lot of pick and roll, doing a lot of backdoor screens. Like there's gonna be so many integral parts of their offense now, and I think Bill quote unquote stepping down, but then you replaced it with Becky Hammon, so it's like you went from good to better, like what I'm saying. So it's like it's pretty much an upgrade. And it's something to be said about the kind of player that Becky Hammon was in the WNBA. So the Aces are looking like they're gonna respect her on a completely different level. Because yes, Bill Laimbeer is Bill Laimbeer, and he played in the NBA. Like we understand his role and impact. But that's Becky Hammon. Like what I'm saying. Like Yeah, exactly. Like people, I doubt anybody was, on the Aces really was looking up to Bill and Beer, but I'm sure that they were looking up to Becky Hammond at some point.
For sure.
Right.
So it definitely makes a difference. I definitely think Dearica Hamby getting more of an opportunity since they lost Liz Cambage will be good for them because, like you said, she's not as tall as Liz, but she's aggressive, and I think she makes to me she makes better decisions. Offensive decisions than Liz Cambage a lot of times.
Less emotional with it.
Less emotional. It's not as like she's not really emotional. She's not emotionally attached to things like Dearica Hamby is just gonna go out there and hoop. Right. That's just what she's gonna do. And then also with Kelsey Plum with KP, I'm a huge fan of her game. I've been a fan of her game for a really long time, and she's such a hooper, and I think Becky Hammond is going to find a bigger role for her as well on this Aces team. And I know you Megan, you mentioned Cheryl Swoops dapping up Chelsea Gray. Cheryl Swoops also dapped up Kelsey Plum as well.
Oh, okay.
And that speaks. We know you would, but that speaks volumes to me as well because she, took the time out to be like, hey, I'm a fan of you. Like I've been watching you. Like you've gotten better every year, and she's like, I just want you to know I'm a fan of yours. Right. So that let me know everything. Yeah. Like I mean, I probabably would have died if Cheryl Swoops would have said that. Right. To me. No, like seriously. But go ahead, Mike. What were you gonna say? Right. I know.
We kind of missed it because the show wasn't around because apparently it took forever for Alana and I to get this show together. But that's neither here nor there. We had the beautiful and amazing Megan join us, and I guess all things, take time. So I'm happy with that. For sure. Chris Robinson, Alana, and myself all had this conversation with everybody at the network, and there were some, mixed feelings about it. Becky leaving the NBA for the WNBA, and I don't really care about the narrative of it's a downgrade or it's an upgrade or however you view it. But for you guys, what do you think really went through her mind when it comes to, okay, I'm going to leave under Pop and I'm going to go here? What do you think really made her, out of all teams too, for the Aces? It's not like it's, okay, I'm going to this great franchise or I'm going to this amazing stacked team. It's definitely something where she's going to need to build it and create her own culture. And Bill's there too. So it's not going to be, it's not like she's by herself. She's going to be able to do this and she's going to have great NBA minds and great other basketball minds there too. But to leave the NBA for the WNBA, what do you think this season, especially for her, means with getting all the disrespect that I've been seeing, oh, it's a downgrade, it's this. I feel like that even puts another standard on what this season could be and her trying to prove, I'm going here to win a championship and then I could go back to the NBA when I please.
What do you think? Megan, you go first.
Ooh, I got some time on this one. Okay, what? I do look at Becky's like my hero. So
right, it's mad disrespect.
It is mad disrespect, and I think that Becky absolutely did not view this as a downgrade one little bit. And this is why Mark Davis paid her $1 million a year because she's already coming from being an assistant for Pop and she was making $750 a year being an assistant. She had got turned down in Charlotte. She got turned down in Orlando. She got turned down in Boston. She got turned down in Portland last season. You can't tell me Chauncey Billups has more experience as a head coaching position or in a coaching position than Becky Hammond. So no knock to Chauncey Billups, but we see what happened this season.
Hey, but Megan, also, I got you. Full knock. Hold on. Full knock to Chauncey. Your ass, guy. Your ass. Game hates you.
Right. Yes. well, obviously Udoka was doing great in Boston, so definitely not a knock to him. But in Orlando at the time, I didn't even know who that dude was that they hired as the head coach. But literally,
they don't know who that dude was.
Right. But literally, everybody who watches the NBA knows who Becky Hammond is because they're like, that's that chick that helps Pop coach. You know what I mean? Like they know who Becky Hammond is. And so, she brings a different level of exposure that the W really needs. They need that type of exposure. And so while it isn't necessarily like joining Seattle or like joining the Mercury, the Aces, they had Asia who did her MVP season in 2019. Right. And so she's not walking into a situation that's just completely bust, she's walking into a situation where they're already a pretty well-established team. And whenever the Aces retired, or not the Aces, when the Aces retired her jersey last summer, we should have seen this coming because like Nikki Vargas, she was like, oh yeah, we were putting in the work then, because the reason they retired her jersey is because, I mean, she's a San Antonio Stars great. Yeah. And the Aces are the former Stars. So I'm not too surprised by it, to be honest. And I think she's going to bring a whole nother level of exposure to the W, and I'm super excited to see her there. If people didn't want to see her leave the NBA, they should have rallied for her to have a head coaching job.
Right.
My thing is this. Everybody preaches equality until it's time to be equal. And I think when it comes to Becky Hammon, I don't think the NBA, as much as they progress forward and as much as they try to align themselves with the WNBA as supporters, I don't think that they're there yet as far as, making a woman a head coach. I think that they were afraid of that because at the end of the day, she's coaching under Greg Pop, or she was coaching under Greg Popovich. You know what I'm saying? One of the greatest coaches. I'm not going to get into debate if great or not, because I have my own thoughts about that as well. But he definitely is one of the greatest, and somebody that, who wouldn't want to learn from Greg Popovich? You know what I'm saying? So I think in that regard, and I think she got tired of waiting, you know what I'm saying? Because there was always, every year is this Pop's last year? Is this Pop's last year? Is Pop finally going to leave? Is Pop? And I think she kind of just was like, all right, like at this point, y'all are playing in my face because I'm sitting here and I'm supposed to be next in line, but he doesn't want to relinquish his position. Like he still wants to coach apparently. So it's like, I'm not going to keep sitting here in the background when I could go be a head coach elsewhere. And she was, like Megan was alluding to, like going to all these different places and seeing all these people that are way more unqualified than she is getting jobs.
Chauncey.
Yeah, Chauncey. Like there's no
Chauncey.
But I'm glad, just real quick, like I'm glad that she didn't take over a team like Orlando or Portland, because immediately she goes into one of those dead-end situations, and then she gets put out the league again, So I'm glad it didn't work out like
that. For sure. I definitely agree with that, because it would have been, oh my God, I can only imagine the misogyny. But listen. So but yeah, I think, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, she's, going to like you alluded to, Megan, going to all these different teams, that she's getting turned down by guys who are or getting, losing the job to guys that are way less inexperienced than she is. And it's like, okay, so am I supposed to keep sitting here and waiting and watching, doors get slammed in my face and watch people that I know are less qualified than me get jobs that I feel like I should have? Or should I go somewhere where I know that they're going, I have a team that is going to value me, and I'm going to be allowed to be a head coach and be allowed to leave my imprint and be allowed to, actually make decisions? Because let's keep it all the way solid. Let's say if she even if she did become an NBA head coach, you think that, the GMs and the higher ups are really going to allow her to imprint herself and put her DNA on an NBA basketball team with a bunch of grown men? Like that's it's not
the only place that would have worked is San Antonio, because the players
because that's the only place. Exactly, and they're used to her. And like I said, I think she got in the mind frame of, I'm tired of waiting. Like I don't want to sit here and be, and be waiting all this time, and it it just seems like I'm running in circles. So let me go back to my roots. Let me go back to somewhere, that I know I'm going to be able to leave my DNA on a basketball team, which is the Las Vegas Aces. And she's already tied to that organization, being that they used to be at the San Antonio Silver Stars. So, in my opinion, it wasn't a step down at all, because let's keep it honest. If Becky Hammon wanted to get back in the NBA, she could easily get back into the NBA. She could be an assistant coach anywhere. It's just is that what she wants? You know what I'm saying? Like Becky Hammon wants to be a head coach. She doesn't want to be sitting behind, sitting behind the team being an assistant coach. And I'm not mad at her for that.
Right.
But
Mike, what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was bullshit that she wasn't a head coach. I thought it was awful. I'm happy she's not in Portland, because that's an scapegoat to a woman. It's a false narrative of a woman not being able to hack it. Like, let's completely ignore that CJ McCollum has no back. Let's completely ignore Dame has been out the entire season, that Portland was a crapshoot before she got there. But they would create that false narrative of, this is what happens when a woman coaches in the NBA, and that's not right. And Orlando is the same situation. Orlando hasn't been shit since Shaq, and they were cool for 5 seconds when Gordon jumped over a car, but other than that, it ain't really got nothing for him. But it's definitely one of those things to where I don't think she stays in the WNBA very long. I think she wins a chip or two, and then she goes back and she does get a head coaching job somewhere. And I think, whether that's a couple years down the line or later on, I definitely think her time is coming, and I think it's going to be a lot quicker than people think. But I think it will be when Pop retires. I think her and Pop probably had that conversation behind closed doors of when Pop's actually deciding to leave. And I don't think it's as soon as people think. I think a lot of people expect him to.
I agree with all that.
Yeah, but Pop's, unfortunately, and I don't talk about people's personal lives, but after the loss of his wife, I think Pop is lonely. It's honestly, I think, and this is the game.
Yeah.
And to lose the game and your wife in a span of X amount of years, I think that's too much for Pop. So I think Pop is going to stay there as long as he can. He will be grandfathered in, whether he's competent enough or not, or whether they're making the playoffs or not. No one's gonna fire Pop. No one has the balls to fire Pop, and that's a great thing. I love Pop. Got mad love for Pop, but just don't think he is the greatest coach in the league right now. But it's a different conversation. But I think him and Becky probably had that conversation of, hey, I'm just not ready yet. And I think if out of all the places, I think she wants to be the coach of San Antonio.
I agree. Yeah, definitely completely agree.
Alana Trap, are you with me? I think
so. It was a little bit.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll get her back. But
you want to dive into the Mercury? You want to dive?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, my internet. Yeah, I would say my internet was tripping. I don't know what happened, but
that's all right.
Let's see. What team we want to go with next.
Let's
go with the Sparks. Actually,
you want to go with the Sparks?
Let's go with the Sparks before we. Yeah, let's go with the Sparks before we get to the Merc. We'll start with the Sparks. So the Los Angeles Sparks, they have made a lot of moves. Obviously they got Liz Cambage. They still have Nika. Is it Nneka? I think it's Nneka. They still got Nneka. Yes, they still got Nneka. They just waived Tia Cooper. They waived somebody else too. I forgot her name. So sorry, sis. But yeah. So what do we think about the Sparks? Like, I mean, it's a lot of moving and shaking going on over there. So what are you guys' thoughts on the Sparks? Ooh, something is in my notes.
Okay. I'm gonna start off by saying get Derek Fisher out the league immediately.
Woo! Please.
I'm not a fan. I feel like the championship that he has is off of Kelsey Plum and CP3. It was not off of his coaching. It was not off of his general manager moves whatsoever, or he would have never lost CP3. She belonged in LA for the entirety of her career because she was an LA Spark. She's the definition of an LA Spark. And do I hate the move of her going back home to Chicago? Not at all. That's the perfect place to go. I mean, she went home, so it's the perfect place to go when it doesn't work out in your franchise. But she should have been a franchise player. She should have retired to LA Spark. That's where she belonged. And so, who messed that up in my eyes is Derek Fisher. So, if you're not going to move him around, obviously you're still going to have some problems. Mike, you talked a little bit about some of the locker room drama and some of the stuff that Liz has off the court and even on the court, because she almost didn't make it back to FIBA because she got into a physical altercation with a couple of ladies before the Olympics started. And so, it was looking like she may not even be able to play international ball there for a while. So she brings a lot of drama, but she is the largest woman in the league currently. There's another one coming up that's 6'10". So she won't be the largest one, the tallest one for much longer, but she is the tallest one in the league. So you lose somebody that's 6'8". I mean, you're definitely going to lose a presence there for the Aces, and she's definitely going to be a presence there in LA. But we didn't see her healthy, not physically and not mentally last season. Right. Like, she took time off for mental health and she had physical problems too. So, and then she got COVID when she tried to come back. So I'm not completely sold on the Sparks. I think they're the worst team in the West. I'm gonna be real. I think they're the worst team in the West. They did pick up Lexi Brown from Chicago, and I think that's a big pickup for them. I'm not super impressed with their draft, except for their first pick, and they drafted 9th, and they picked up Ray Burrow from the guard from Tennessee. I think that's a great look for them, and apparently she took Tia Cooper's job, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I look at them though, and I think, obviously you hit on your top 10 draft pick. I think it's not hard to, especially in the WNBA where, and in women's basketball as well, where a lot of women do separate themselves. There's not a lot of hidden gems. You kind of have a great understanding of who is who because of how many games they play. But one of the biggest things to me is, you have picks, 9, 16, 19, and 27, and all Megan can talk about is 9. Derek Fisher and company.
My bad. 16. Actually, I looked at that. That's the guard from Louisville. She pretty good too. So I mean, she's not the guard to the same caliber as the guard from Tennessee, but she's solid.
Right. But it's one of those conversations to where it's like you have 4 draft picks and 1 is a guarantee. Mm-hmm. And it's like I need Derek and company to be a lot better than that. I need you guys to have a better scouting department. I need you guys, right. It just doesn't. I got mad love for Derek, everything he did with Cobes and everybody else, but this is not that. And I am no longer 8 years old and I have a beard and bills to pay. So it's definitely something to where time has changed. And we're all a lot different now. And I think his time is come and gone, but they had a lot of key losses. You talk about Tia Cooper, Erica Wheeler, Nia Coffey, Gabby Williams. She didn't play last season, but again, it's something where it's like you forget the name and then you're like, oh yeah, that's Gabby Williams. But they lost a lot of people. So you better bank on a couple of these draft picks actually panning out, because if they don't, then it just kind of looks at you like, okay, people are coming out of the door and the people coming in aren't any better or even worse. So it's definitely that conversation of, this is your year where we're really going to have to see a lot of development from these young women, or they might stay, but your ass is gone.
Yeah. We could just start with fire Derek Fisher. It's been fire Derek Fisher, in my personal opinion, for the past few years. I'm forever holding a grudge on Derek Fisher for the simple fact that I believe it might have been either 2017 or 2018. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I recall the Sparks were in the playoffs and Candace Parker sat for the entire second half. I don't understand. There's not a logical reason Derek Fisher could have convinced me that was a wise decision.
Right.
Especially a perfectly healthy Candace Parker, by the way. Like it's different if she'd injured herself or she was ineffective. This is Candace freaking Parker we're talking about here. Like one of the greatest WNBA players. I'm not even gonna do that. One of the greatest basketball players of all time. Not even just WNBA player. Like Candace Parker has accomplished everything you could possibly accomplish in a basketball career.
Right.
There's no reason that she should have sat an entire second half. I don't understand that. I'll never understand that. And I do agree with you, Megan. I think that the whole going home thing, wonderful, great. And I'm super happy for it. And she played her tail off for this guy. She was definitely the leader and was that missing piece for them to put him over the hump to make them a championship team. I'm not mad at that. I just think that there's more to the story than what she's letting out, which if you know Candace Parker, she's a pretty private person, so she's not going to fully explain exactly what happened, but I definitely think that Derek Fisher played a part in the reason why she's not still a Los Angeles Spark currently. Right. Because I think if they have a different coach, she still is a Los Angeles Spark and she retires as a Los Angeles Spark, which she deserved to do. So that's that on that. I don't know exactly what direction that they're trying to go in. To me personally, and I agree with you, Megan. I feel like they're probably the worst team in the West, which I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if they were in the East, they would probably be contending, but because the West is so loaded. But I don't know exactly what the makeup of this team is anymore. I don't know exactly what who's the centerpiece, who exactly are they building around, because are we gonna sit here and say that they're all sold on Liz Cambage, that they're locking completely in on Liz Cambage? Heck, I mean, look at or NECA. Like, are they building around NECA? Like, I don't know exactly which direction that they're really trying to go in right now. It's not really making a whole lot of sense in my personal opinion. I just think that they're just putting kind of a bunch of random people together. But I think, like I said, that's just the whole. I still can't get over the fact that Candace Parker is not a Spark anymore. And then on top of that,
exactly,
they got rid of Chelsea Gray as well. And it's like, what is, like I said, what is the direction? Like, what exactly is? It's just really confusing as far as what they're exactly they're trying to do. And I just feel like they are allowing Derek Fisher to have way too much control over that situation because I feel like he ruffles a lot of feathers, and the reason why a lot of the players that should still be Sparks are not Sparks anymore are because of him. So for me, it starts with fire Derek Fisher.
Right.
Like,
I felt like
I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Yeah, like
100%.
fire Derek Fisher.
I felt like, one of Derek's buddies, God rest his soul, I felt like Kobe Bryant was going to be the one to actually take his job at some point.
I could see that.
I definitely saw that in the wheelhouse of possibilities because I felt like Kobe would either go with Gigi at some point or
man, that breaks my heart.
Right, but just go to Los Angeles in general. I feel like he would do it while he waited for Gigi to get up. Because I don't see him going anywhere other than Los Angeles. If Philly, had a team, I guess a whole different conversation. But I definitely think that Kobe was definitely going to be one of those people that I had as a candidate of taking that job for Derek Fisher. It's very unfortunate. I think it's not even funny to joke about, but it definitely takes a lot of pressure off of Derek Fisher to know that Kobe's not around to probably take his job because at snap of a finger, Kobe would have been in that.
Right. Oh yeah, of course.
All Kobe would have had to do was be like, "I'm interested." They would have shipped Derek Fisher right on.
Yeah, 100%.
They would have been like, "What?"
And it wouldn't be the first time Kobe shipped his ass out either. So
let's get into it. Let's get into it.
This is a reality situation. But.
No, we need to call Matt Barnes. Anyway, moving on to we're gonna go to the Minnesota Lynx. They've been making some moves, man. They're looking to get back in that number one spot because for a while it was the Lynx and everybody else, and they kind of had a bit of a rough patch. But then now they're building back up. Of course, this is gonna be still your Fowles' last season as well, so we got to consider that. They still got Kayla McBride. I believe do they still have Nafisha?
Yeah, they just extended her, but she's pregnant, so she's not playing this season.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so yeah, she is pregnant, so she won't be playing this season. They did draft pretty well, also end as well. So what do we think about the Lynx? Are they going to be in the top couple teams this year? Like, what's everybody's thoughts? Mike, start with you.
I think they're in that conversation of being able to take them a little bit more seriously than we once did. I think they're very similar. I keep making NBA comparisons and I hate that, but they're very similar to another Minnesota team right now, to where I feel like they're right there. You just need to see that entire team step up. It can't just be a couple stars here and there because again, it's a very deep conference. So I feel like they have all the intangibles and all the pieces to be able to be a great team. They just need to simply do it. And I know that's the cop-out answer, but it really is how it is because, you're only as good as the girls that are on the court or the women that are on the court. And I just feel like a very top-heavy roster is only going to take you so far. You really need those role players to be able to get in there and go, those young women to be able to really just take advantage of, an aging Candace Parker or an aging Diana Taurasi. You really got to be able to take advantage of those situations. That's why I love Breanna Stewart because that woman just fucking goes. Like she's full of throttle 24/7. It's disgusting. It's like she's literally just flying past people 90 miles a minute. But it really does come down to they have a really good young core. I feel like they need to play fast ball. They can play very fast paced. And I think if they can do that at a productive level, it's cool if you're the first one down the court, that's cool, but you got to get that bucket. You got to get that bucket. So I just need them to be able to take advantage of their moment and remain calm in those moments. You know what I mean? Like we've seen plenty of times people just smoking layups on a fast break. And it's like, what are we talking about? So I feel like, just being content and just understanding, okay, this is what we know we are, but this is what we can be. And then that's the conversation of what are you going to be towards the end of the year versus how you start off.
What do you think? What you got, Meg?
I think you got to start with the cuts that they've made over the last 2 days. They've made 6 cuts, but some of the big names that they cut, Crystal Dangerfield, they cut Clarendon, and then they cut Renaya Davis as well. So, they cut some players that have been a part of their team for a minute. And we know Clarendon was a vital part of their offense at one point in time. She was injured some last season, but at one point we thought that she was going to be a pretty big star over there in Minnesota, and it didn't end up being that way. But I think what comes down to is, regardless of this being her last season, the type of player that Sylvia Fowles is and the impact that she had on that gold medal, she was still a very vital part of that, even at the age that she's at. We've seen the decline of some of these top stars, and they weren't necessarily a part of that gold medal, but Sylvia Fowles is not one of them. Like, she's still reigning defensive player of the year. So she's still going to be, that team's going to move as she moves, just like you were saying about that other team. But I think it also goes back to their coach. Cheryl Reeves is also, she's Team USA coach at this moment. So she scoped out the competition before the season even like got all the way around,
Right.
She already knows how these other players work, how they play. And I think that puts them a step ahead as well. I feel like they're missing one piece, and that's Fee. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But, they're gonna miss Fee.
Yeah, that's my whole thought as well. Like, I don't. They've definitely made a lot of cuts, but I still think that they're a really good team, really young. They're getting younger as far as in that regard, because what made them great was they had a lot of veteran players basically, who had been there before, so they had all the experience. But right now, they're in the process of a rebuild, but they're treading up, which is which is good for them. But they're definitely gonna miss Fee. But I mean, I think that they'll still fare okay, because they still have Sylvia Fowles, and like I said, even though this is her last season, like, she still makes an impact for that team. Like, she's still gonna be very impactful, because especially on defense, she still can score. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then they got Kayla McBride, who I think that's an underrated pickup for them. Because Kayla McBride is a bucket. It don't matter who
I
she
forgot
plays
that
for,
they picked her up, to be honest.
Yeah, she's a bucket. So she's at least a good 16 to 18 points guaranteed a night. So
right.
you definitely gotta consider that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Megan said, at the end of the day, they're just gonna really miss Fee. But unfortunately, there's nothing they can do about that, because life happens. But they're definitely moving in the right direction. So we'll go ahead and move on from them, and we'll go to my favorite team, the Phoenix Mercury, which feature my GOAT, Diana Taurasi. What do we? I mean, and that's okay.
Well, my GOAT,
Mike.
Yeah, she did, and I'll give her that, and I rock with Candace. That's hometown forever. So, anyways, Diana still got 3 of them things to Candace's 2, but we'll move on. We'll move on. But yeah, so what do we think about, obviously we all know the elephant in the room, of course, the whole Brittany Griner situation. So we know that they're at least not going to have her for the start of the season. We don't know how long that's going to go. We don't know if there's a possibility that she may come back, in the middle, or that she may even want to come back this year just because of everything she's gone through.
Right. And
so,
to be honest though, and I hate to be that guy, because I'm someone, I used to smoke that shit, so it is what it is. But is she gonna get suspended, or a conversation of a suspended when she does come back? Because
I don't think so.
If they charge her in Russia, it's that conversation of, you might have to, just because you got charged in a different country.
Well, if you have to, here's the kickback.
It's a tricky conversation.
It is, because if you suspend her because she was charged in Russia, then is the rule for weed going to be reversed in the WNBA, because weed is not being tested for anymore? Right. That's
where I'm coming from.
So it's a slippery slope, because it's like, I understand she got charged in a different country, but in that country it's not allowed. It's allowed here. Right. So
I guess it just depends on if it breaks the code of conduct. But then also
that's a good point too.
Like I said last week, I have concerns about the validity of the charges anyway. We heard 2 days ago that the DOJ got involved, and they listed her as wrongfully detained. We don't know any other details other than that. We don't know why they consider her wrongfully detained. We don't know any of that. I just find it highly suspicious that at the same time that all this pops off, that they're invading another country, that this happens. This is a team that she's played for 7 years. And by the way, the Russian government killed her team owner while she was playing for this team, when Sue Bird was playing for this team as well. So we're not talking about a reputable country. You know what I mean? Like we're not talking about like she knows how this country works. So I have a hard time believing that either one, she didn't think she was going to get in trouble for it because she had done it 100 times before, or two, it didn't happen.
Right. I also think it's a conversation of it slipped. Like it real talk, like it happens. Like it
happens.
Never
for sure.
Right, I will never incriminate myself on here, but I've definitely, back in my high school days, I've looked in my backpack and been like, "Oh shit!" Like that's
right.
It happened. It definitely, it definitely happens, and I don't know, like that whole situation is just it's just a mess.
It's going to be a huge loss for them, though. Like this is definitely. This is a try and get it. Okay, we see several teams. We got Seattle, we got Minnesota, and we got the Mercury that are all sitting there looking at players that are possibly in their last season, which I feel like DT's not in her last season, but it's still like, are we going to get one more? Are we going to get one more until she's – because I agree. I think she's the GOAT. She's the most decorated player of all time, right? So DT, in my opinion, she is the GOAT. But, if she gets one more, she's basically the undisputed GOAT. And she gets that fourth one. She's basically the undisputed GOAT. And so
she's only one away.
She ain't getting that shit.
She's only one away. I know a player that's two away, but we won't talk about it.
But the moves that they made in the offseason, like you could tell that they were of that same mind frame. Like they brought Diamond DeShields down from Chicago. And I feel
that's
like
gonna be a huge pickup for them.
That's huge. And then when they picked up Tina Charles, let me tell y'all, I called on the video chat with my crew and I was like, Phoenix got Tina Charles, it's huge. That was such a huge pickup for them. And so to me, it felt like title or bust. And then this happens, and that's just so detrimental. It's going to be a huge loss.
It is.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they can still stay afloat, though, without Brittany Griner, just because of the Tina Charles pickup and because of Diamond DeShields. You still have Diana Taurasi. You still have Skylar Diggins. You still have Shay. What is her last name? I can't think of what her last name is.
And then Sophia Cunningham, she re-signed.
Yeah, it's Sophia Cunningham. All I know is Sophia.
All they lost was Harley.
Yeah, they just lost. Yeah, which wasn't really a major loss because she didn't play. She didn't really play a lot for them, so that's not really that big of a loss. It was like, but like the biggest, obviously the biggest glaring loss is Brittany Griner. Right. But like I said, I still feel like Phoenix could stay afloat even without BG currently. Now, are they going to be serious contenders without BG? That will remain to be seen. But I still, like I said, I think that they're a good enough veteran savvy team that they'll still be in the mix of like one of the top teams in the league. Because Skylar Diggins.
What about their coaching pickup?
Oh,
what do y'all think about that? Because they did have a head coaching change, and it was almost the draft, and they didn't have a head coach. I was like, what are they going to do?
I think it's one of those things where Diana is a big part. No disrespect, but I think Diana is a big part of that, and I don't think it really matters kind of who's your head coach. Just because Diana creates that culture,
and she's kind of like LeBron-esque, like she's
she's
the coach. She's the coach on the court. Like so they don't really need like a big strong voice per se. And as far as in the head coaching position,
just need someone in those shoes, to be honest.
We just need somebody to be there because that's a requirement. So it's
but without Brittany though, I feel like you do need a good coach now because
for sure.
There's a lot
can Vanessa Nygaard be that?
Right.
That's remained to be seen. Honestly, that's remained to be seen. But I think an X factor for them, X Factor, because that's their fans' name, X Factor. I think there's the X factor for them. Is that, like I said, Skylar Diggins has really come into her own as a player in the league,
for sure.
And she's finally. I feel like she's finally found her footing.
Right.
Because I know, like when she was with the Wings, it was kind of like she would be there was a lot of peaks and valleys. Like she would be up and down a lot. But I think once she got to Phoenix and it was pretty much, and I think another reason that she was so up and down and with the Wings is that I don't ever felt like she was confident that was going to be that she was going to always be the centerpiece for that team, like that they were going to build around her basically. Like I don't think she always felt secure in that. And I think with Phoenix, she knows like I'm the point guard of this team. I run the show. Like, yes, we have Diana Taurasi. Yes, we have, all these great offensive weapons, but I am the captain of the ship. Like I run the offense, and they give her that confidence and that feedback to be like, we go as you go in a sense, because she's a lot younger than Diana. Let's keep it real. Like Diana's not the same. Mm-hmm. She's still great, but she's not the same great that we've been accustomed to seeing, because she's getting older. That's just what happens. But you know what I'm saying, being that they have her, and she's such a high basketball IQ, I think, like I said, they have so many different key components that'll keep them in contention, at least until the Brittany Griner situation is figured out. So hopefully that's sooner than later, because I would definitely like to see BG back with the Mercury. Like I said, that's even saying if she wants to play, like I said, after all the stuff that she's been through. But that, again, that's remains to be seen. Also, with the Sophie Cunningham thing, I think she's definitely a great piece for them. But I do know she better leave Kalia Cooper alone, because that whole situation didn't really work in her favor. That she was shook once. She was shook once. So I just leave her alone.
Mike, I need a shirt.
Yeah, I gotta get me one of those shirts where Kai's like,
that's a legendary play.
She made shirts so she made money off it. Like
they sold out so quick. I tried.
So quick. Sold out quick. I tried to get one too, and they definitely sold out. So Mike, hook us up, man. We need some shirts.
I'll see what happens.
Okay. Last but not least, let's go ahead and dive into the Seattle Storm. Of course, we all know what comes with that team. So what are everybody's thoughts about their team? Of course, we all know Breanna Stewart did sign a 1-year deal, so the consensus is that she is probably looking elsewhere. She may expect. Who knows? So, Megan, what do you think?
I think that Breanna Stewart is out next season, most likely, unless they do something drastic in the upcoming draft, or have plans to do something drastic, or in the free agency or the draft, because they gave their core player tag to Joel Lloyd. So I think they kind of sent a message with that. But I don't know. It could possibly be a cap situation, and it might have just worked out better for them to pay Breanna next season, and that might absolutely be the case, because
that could be.
I know she loves Seattle, her home, her wife, her kid are there. Like, I know she loves it there, but she went and talked to New York, and I thought that would be a crazy fit. Sandy Brondello, Louis, like rookie of the year.
But then who does New York give up to get her?
I felt like they might get rid of Betnijah. I felt like Betnijah might have moved to. I thought it was going to be like one of my other co-hosts. We thought there was going to be a 3-team trade between Betnijah going to the Sky, because she knows Kalia so well. They know each other. And then Dolson to New York. And then Stewie, we thought it was going to be like a 3-team trade, and it didn't end up being that.
I want Breanna.
Who don't?
Right? What?
I want that bullshit. I want Breanna.
Tell her to come to Phoenix. Hell, we need somebody to in place of DT when she leaves.
The coach is in her rookie season, so we'll see what happens with that. I think they're in another situation where they know that it's Sue Bird's last year. I mean, she hasn't officially come out, but I think
it's her last. So real quick, do we think that this is going to be Sue Bird's last year? Not to cut you off, Megan, but do we think this is going to be Sue Bird's last year?
Yeah,
I do.
I think so too. I think she was ready last year, honestly, but I think the moment was too much for her. I think it was actually Phoenix, because Phoenix and Seattle played against each other. It was the playing game, right? So they played against each other, and then obviously Seattle lost, and I think the moment was just too much. Like she was so emotional, and there was just so many things probably racing through her mind at that time, and I don't think she wanted it to end like that. But I definitely think it's going to be her, regardless of what happens this year. I think this is going to be her last year, because I think she realizes her calling now outside of basketball, and she's going to have a great career outside of basketball.
So completely agree. So I think the new stadium played a role in that as well, like the new arena. I think they were able to kind of throw that in the mix, like, hey, don't you want to hang a banner up in the new arena? Like, you are Seattle. So and I think that they would have been, the playoffs may have been completely different if Stewie wouldn't have got hurt in the last week of the season.
Absolutely.
And it was a pretty serious injury. So I'm a big believer in Breanna, and I think she's going to be great. but still it was a serious injury. So we got to wait and see how she comes back at what percentage.
Right.
For sure. Mike, go ahead.
I think it's one of those things, you look at the key losses, Katie Lou Samuelson and Jordy Canada, and I love that last name. I like names, last names. But I think you didn't lose the world. I think there's a big conversation of, if this is your last year for Sue Bird, then all cards are on the table. You might see a vintage Sue Bird at times, and I think that might especially come in the playoffs, is to where this is the last dance. The unofficial last dance, and I like it like that. I don't like farewell tours. I think lame as shit. I think they're corny. That's just me personally. Like D Wade got mad love for D Wade, and what he did in Chicago, I guess. But he's from Chicago, so I'll always rock with him. But the farewell tour was so just it just wasn't my style. It's just not my thing. But an unofficial last dance to where everybody in that locker room has that understanding. It's just not on the TV every single time there's a game. This is the second last time. This is the third last time. This is the fourth last time. It's like, dude, you're really just adding too much pressure to this that doesn't need to be there. It's unwanted. It's unwarranted. And I kind of like this understanding of, Brianna's last year here. This is Sue Bird's probably last year in the NBA. So let's just rock out like that and let's see what happens. So I'm really excited. I think they could be one of those teams, like we talked about Minnesota, that kind of just takes that step. They just need everybody else. They had picks 17, 21, and 33. So you're really going to have to see that scouting department on how they pan out. Because they did draft someone with the last name of Westbrook. So we'll see what happens with that.
They cut her.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I wouldn't take the chance.
That number 17 pick, number 17 pick, Kanane from NC State, that center right there, she's going to be a vital piece, I think.
Really well.
I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's Cuanne. I don't know how to say that. But
I'm not sure how to say that either.
I don't like butchering names. Kune. It probably is Kune, but she's definitely a hooper. It's one of those ones. That's why I love the WNBA draft more than the NBA, because it's just deep. I think everybody.
Yeah, it's nothing but hoopers. Yeah, nothing but hoopers.
And then the NBA is like, all right, cool. First 5 are cool, and then 6, 7, and 8 are question marks. It's definitely one of those conversations. I think Seattle can make a last push, but it all counts on how healthy Brianna's going to be. And if she's not, it's fine. Like Chicago will take her next year, and
all right, Mike. All right,
y'all are greedy over there at the Sky. Y'all want everybody. Right. Like, Jesus,
we'll take her. It's fine. We'll give her Misa Man. We don't even need Misa Man.
I think that the Stormer. I think because the looming presence of the possibility of it being Sue Bird's last year, I think that they're gonna really like be a tough out. Like they're gonna really like go for broke basically. Just because, like I said, we all probably know this is Sue Bird's last year. Like I said, I think she wanted to do it last year, but it just kind of became too much because all the talks and everybody saying certain things, so that it was just like, nah, let me do this on my terms. And I don't necessarily mind farewell tours. Honestly, I'm a fan of those just because I think that I'm a fan of it as long as the person who's receiving it is worthy.
Right.
And I feel like somebody like
Kobe's didn't bother me.
Yeah, Kobe's didn't bother me.
Right.
D-Wade's didn't bother me. If Sue Bird gets one, I'm not gonna be bothered by that either. I think Diana, she definitely deserves her flowers when that time comes, or however she wants to do it. What? Listen, y'all gonna have to check on me because I'm gonna be in the corner somewhere boo-hooing, like bawling my eyes out. Literally, it's been both of her shoes that she released. I had both. Like I've had all her jerseys. Like super fan over here. So I think Seattle is definitely gonna be a tough out just because of that. I'm interested to see, with the Breanna Stewart signing a 1-year deal. But Reagan, you did honestly bring up a good point as far as like the cap space. I could definitely see them signing her to a 1-year deal and being like, okay, let's let Sue Bird ride the ship. Jewel Lloyd got her money, then we can let Breanna Stewart get her money. So I definitely see that as a possibility. But I wouldn't be surprised if she, flirts with other teams this year in free agency, because I know the rumor of her wanting to go to New York was the fact that that's her hometown. Like she is from she's from the East Coast. She's from New York. Her parents are there. You know what I'm saying? And can you imagine Breanna Stewart in Barclays? Like, insane like that because to me she's a female KD. Like that's how I see Breanna Stewart is like a female KD. Like as far as like just unstoppable scoring ability, just linked out of this world, can play defense. It's just, I mean, when she's healthy, there's not a person in the world that can stop her.
Right.
It just is what it is. So, you know, I don't know. I'm interested to see that. But as far as for this year, I definitely think that they could be in contention with the top teams in the West. They still got, you know, obviously they still got Jewel Lloyd returning, and she's been great for them. And I mean, she just continues to get better and better every year. And I think, you know, they're preparing to pretty much give her the keys of the franchise because, like I said, we all know Sue Bird is going to be on her way out soon. So yeah, I mean, I see Seattle being in the top 3, but honestly, anybody could be in the top 3 in the West. Like, it's just that loaded. It's just that loaded. So before we end the show, I'll ask both of you guys, and then I'll go. Who would be your top 3 in the West? Like, if you could decide after everything that we've said and we've dissected and broken down in particular order, because I do want it in order. Who are your top 3 top 3 teams in the West? Megan, I'll start with you.
Hell yeah, Megan, go first. Hell yeah.
Okay. Oh man. Okay, so man, if BG was there, I would put Mercury number 1 because I just feel like they're so ridiculous when they went and got Tina Charles and Diamond DeShields. So I can't put them at number 1 without BG. And my boyfriend's going to be so mad, but I'm going to put the Vegas Aces at number 1.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna put the Mercury at number 2, and then I'm gonna put my wings at number 3.
I like it. Mike, what you got?
I got a very similar list. I have the Aces at 1 because KP's my best friend. And then
this boy,
Phoenix Mercury are going to be number 2 for me. And then I have Minnesota at 3. I think it's one of those conversations where I feel like you have the potential to shock the world. And it's definitely going to come down to one of those things we really don't know what's going to happen. We really don't know, you know, how it's going to play out. But it's really exciting to me to think, you know, this is exactly what we could all do. But don't count Becky out. Don't count Becky out.
Yeah, you can't ever.
I'm not counting that roster in. I just think it definitely is something she can turn around very quickly though. Yeah,
I'm gonna go same top. My top team is gonna be the Aces. They're my second favorite team out of the Mercury because I'm a fan of Asia Wilson and I'm a fan of KP as well, and I do like De'Erica Hamby as well. So I got them at number 1. I'm gonna go Minnesota at number 2, because I do think that they have shock the world ability. I do think that they could gotta be a sleeper team that people don't really see coming until it's too late. And I mean, because like I said, they have young players, they have veterans, they have a great coach, obviously, and they just have a great nucleus. Even with Fee being gone, I still think that they could do damage. And my third team is going to be the Storm. I'm going to go Seattle at number 3 just because of Breanna Stewart coming back fully healthy. Also having Jewel Lloyd, and then like I said, for the simple fact that it's Sue Bird's last year, I think that they're just going to be a tough team to beat because they want to get another banner for Sue Bird really, really bad. Because I mean, Sue Bird is the Seattle Storm.
Since last time we agreed on preseason predictions, you know, John Morant currently doing his thing. So
listen,
Minnesota.
When I'm right, I'm right. Okay,
we was there. We was believers.
When I'm right, I'm right.
Look, I hope we drop.
Listen, I tried
on all y'all.
Big job coming. 47.
I'm just saying, you know.
No, he's doing big things.
Yeah, listen. Hey, shout out to me and Mike because we tried to tell Kenny and Kenny didn't want to listen to us and he was that's so much. You guys are putting so much on him. Yeah, look at us now, Kenny. Look at us now. We were
big
right.
job, baby.
We was right, but that is going to wrap up another episode of Beyond the Rim. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Megan. Go ahead.
Real quick, can I just tell everybody that on Friday is opening night. This is the schedule real quick. We got the Storm versus the Lynx. We got the Fever versus the Mystics, the Sparks versus the Sky, the Aces versus the Mercury. And then Saturday, we got the Dream versus the Wings and the Sun versus the Liberty. So those are your opening games.
Ooh, the Sparks versus the Sky is an open.
Mike Hughes will be in the. Mike Hughes might be in the building. I might have some.
Is it? Oh, it is in Chicago because that's they did that.
It is in Chicago. They hang it banners.
They did that on purpose. And I love it. I love that for. I love it. I love
Right.
it.
They did it on
the petty.
purpose.
They definitely did that on purpose.
They
love the petty.
definitely
the
came with the
petty.
lineup for opening week. You got the Aces versus the Mercury, who hate each other. Then you've got Sparks versus the Sky. You got that, and then you got two players that are on their last year, the Storm versus the Lynx. So like opening week they did a great job with that.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be lit. So next episode we're gonna be talking about the opening game matchups because it's gonna be incredible. Like so many good games. Make sure y'all pay attention and support the WNBA with all these good games that we got going on. That's gonna wrap up another episode of Beyond the Rim. I am your host Sensei, and these are my co-hosts Megan and Mike, and we appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode. Make sure y'all be here next Wednesday. It's going down. We're gonna be talking about opening week. We're gonna be talking about all the good stuff, all things WNBA. So make sure y'all stay tuned and y'all have a great rest of y'all night.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.